Hi everyone, it's Jenny here from The Bear and the Fox. I'm back today to share some more picture book love with you. As you may or may not know, I have been working for the Edinburgh Book Festival for the past 16 months. And I work part-time, which means that there was plenty of time for me to take my children there on my days off, and we went to lots of great events and we met some really interesting authors, and we spent a lot of time browsing the fantastic bookshop which they had at the festival. So I just wanted to quickly share some of the amazing picture books that we came away with, and they all have one thing in common: they all have absolutely gorgeous illustrations, which if you've been following for a while you may know is a bit of a thing for us. First we have The Go Away Bird, which is the story of a bird who tells everybody to go away and leave them alone, but eventually learns that everybody needs a friend sometimes. And the illustrations are absolutely beautiful. Here's a little close-up. So that's The Go Away Bird. Then we have The Night Dragon, which is the story of a friendship between a little mouse and this rainbow dragon, and it's about being yourself and finding the courage within you. And there we've got the beautiful rainbow dragon and all the other dragons. And this is one of my favorite pages, the rainbow dragon in full flight. This is really, really beautiful. Then we have Quail Soup, which tells the story of a traveling porcupine who visits a village on his travels and asks the villagers if they've got any food to spare, and they're all really mean and they say no. So the porcupine starts cooking quail soup, which is basically a big pot of water with some of his porcupine quills in it. And then the other animals start getting curious and at his request start bringing him things to put in the soup to improve it, and at the end they end up with an amazing tasting soup that they all share. And you might have heard this story under the title Stone Soup. So this is a South African variation, and I just love all the beautiful colourful illustrations. So that's Quail Soup. Then we have The Perfect Sofa, which is a really fun story about a panda and a penguin who are on their search for a perfect sofa to replace their rather run-down one, and they go all over town and they don't have much luck, and then at the very end, here we go, we can't find a sofa! And then at the very end they both go back home and they just repair the sofa that they had, and it's perfect after all because it's really comfy, and that's their perfect sofa. And I just love the colourful illustrations, and also we were lucky enough to meet the author and she signed it for us, and look, so our book has an extra little illustration because she did a little drawing for my boys in the front of the book. So that's The Perfect Sofa. Then we have The King Who Banished the Dark. This is the story of a little prince who's scared of the dark, and when he becomes king he decides to banish the dark. And what I love about this book, it's really clever. All the illustrations throughout the book are in different shades of sort of yellow and orange and black, and there's black as well, but the only colour that's used is variations on yellow and orange, picking up that theme of light. And it's not until the very end of the book that there's some colour introduced, when they realise that the dark doesn't have to be scary. So I really like how cleverly this book uses colour in its illustrations. That's The King Who Banned the Dark. Sorry, not banished, The King Who Banned the Dark. Next we have Mighty Min, and I picked this book up several times in the shop before eventually I did end up buying it. And Mighty Min is really tiny, as you will see here. This is her next to Flower, and she lives with her aunts, and they all have amazing stories to tell about amazing things they've done. And so this is the story about how Min ends up doing something really amazing. And as you can see, the illustrations are absolutely stunning. I love the illustration style, I love the colours, and she's just so cute. And this is just such a beautiful book. Then we've got Ivy and the Lonely Rain Cloud. I love books about the rain. Maybe it's a Scottish thing, I don't know. So there's a little rain cloud who's lonely and goes in search of a friend and ends up being friends with, you'll never guess this, a little girl called Ivy. There she is. And Ivy's really grumpy and doesn't really want to be friends with the rain cloud. But in the end, the rain helps her to grow lots of beautiful plants and they become friends. Look, there they are. Ivy hugging the little rain cloud. It's such a cute little story with cute illustrations. And speaking of rain, this book is called Umbrella, though it doesn't actually rain in this book. And it's the story of a little girl who finds a magical umbrella on a bench in the park. There's the park bench, there's the umbrella. And oh, there she is. She's looking a bit sad. And then she finds the magical umbrella, and then lots of amazing things happen when she opens the umbrella. And I love the muted colours in this book. Kind of, I think, are quite fitting for a story about an umbrella. There's sort of shades of blue, blue and grey, a bit like a rainy day, and then these pops of colour that come through every time something magical happens. Then we have Lubna and Pebble. This is a really beautiful and also rather poignant story about a little girl who lives in a refugee camp. It's never actually explicitly said, but she arrives on a boat and she lives in the world of tents. So it's kind of implied. And again, the illustrations are really beautiful. The colours are kind of muted again, slightly somber with little pops of colour. And so Pebble is her friend. So there she's drawing a face on Pebble, and Pebble listens to all her worries and is always there and is a really good friend. And then towards the end of the book, another little boy arrives in the world of tents, Amir, and she shares Pebble with him. So it's a really beautiful story about friendship and touches a little bit on the lives of children living in a refugee camp. So it can also be a good talking point for children who are old enough to understand. But it's really beautiful and the illustrations are just lovely. And last but not least, a non-fiction book. This is a book about sharks. It's called Smart About Sharks. And I was just immediately drawn by the cover, the colours and the style of the illustrations. And my youngest loves sharks. So this is going to be heading his way. So that's Smart About Sharks, and actually here inside the back you can see it's part of a whole series which have similarly beautiful front covers. So there's Mad About Monkeys, Crazy About Cats, Bonkers About Beetles and Fanatical About Frogs. If you want to get the whole collection, we're going to start off with the sharks one and see how we get on. And that's it for today. Those were some of our favourite books that we got at this year's Edinburgh International Book Festival, and they're all beautifully illustrated. As always, I'll pop all the book titles and author details over on my blog if you want to follow up on any of them. And I will see you next time. Happy reading. Bye!